Hey, how's it going? This is Jerry here with Wealth Dynamics. Thank y'all for joining me this morning. I'm on my way to work today. Anyways, I wanted to talk to you today about my theory, which is complication is actually a sign of a lack of intelligence. Now, this is what I mean by that. When you're reading this title, you're actually probably initially thinking like, hey, that's a mean thing to say about people when they don't understand stuff. That's actually not what I'm saying at all. So a lot of the stuff that's complicated, I'm saying you shouldn't understand it. When somebody has to take a simple idea or a simple concept and come up with an arbitrary, complicated formula or explanation, it actually means that that individual doesn't understand the basic. So they've got to come up with their own story to make sense of it in their own mind. And then they become authoritarian about it and share that with others and pretend like that's the rule. Okay, so think about it like this. Let's use real estate as an example of this. The more complicated the acronyms and formulas on a real estate deal get, the less the person that made those formulas actually understand the deal. Because at the end of the day, check this out. If it's real estate, there's only a couple things that matter. What's the property worth? What's the net operating income? What's the cap rate? What's the debt servicing? And what's your cash flow before taxes? How much did it cost? How much am I going to make? How much am I going to pay? How much am I going to keep? Doesn't get more complicated than that. When you start getting into VIM-TIM and all these different acronyms, like that actually means that if you're coming up with those formulas, you don't understand the deal. Or the person you're getting it from doesn't understand the deal. Why in the world, if something is basic and simple, would I need to come up with another way of explaining it? It would only mean that my calculator can't compute the equation and has to come up with its own arbitraries to make sense of it. So guys, I want to have you take this as something that you use every day in life, because this helped me out tremendously. Because I used to be the person that when I didn't understand something, I would go back on my heels. I would get uncertain. I would lose confidence, and I'd be like, I don't know what that means. And then I wouldn't know, should I tell them I don't know what it means? Should I make up an answer? Or do I just sit there and be quiet? Now, when somebody tells me something and I don't know what it means, I ask them, what do you mean by that? Chances are most times they don't know what it means either. They're just repeating what they heard somebody else say. So I was on a conversation yesterday and a guy asked me a question about, an investment opportunity that I had never heard of. And, whatever the name was, like he said, it's called this. And I was like, well, what do you mean by that? When you say this name, what does that mean to you? And he went on this very long explanation of what it meant to him that at the end of the conversation really didn't make a whole lot of sense, which meant that he didn't know what the opportunity was either. And so I ended up actually asking him through questions and breaking it down to a basic level that A, I could understand, and B, helped him understand even more. So keep that in mind, whether that is with education and knowledge, whether that's with money, whether that is with real estate, whether that's with investing. The more complicated somebody has to make something, the less the individual actually understands it. Just because you don't understand it doesn't mean you're wrong, doesn't mean it doesn't make sense, doesn't mean that there's any sort of validity to what's being shared with you. All it means is the person you're getting that information with is either an idiot or the person they're getting it from is an idiot on that subject. Otherwise, they wouldn't have to make up big words to explain it. So guys, thank you for watching. By the way, I want you to visualize a triangle right now. Real knowledge at the tip of the triangle makes the base of information make sense. False knowledge is an upside down triangle where it's all of this information at the top to make sense of this little bitty thing at the bottom. You should always be getting a little bitty thing at the top that makes everything at the bottom make sense, not having to lay a giant base of information across the top to get one little tiny concept to make sense for you. Thank you again for watching. Like, share, subscribe. Have a fantastic day. I will talk to you later.